In the quiet village of Akoto, nestled between the twin rivers of Anji and Nolo, life moved at a gentle pace. The village was known for its lively marketplace, where traders sold everything from dried fish to colorful Kent cloth, pottery, and spices. Yet, despite the market's vibrancy, one name stood out above all others: Lanya. Lanya was a young woman with a gift that had transformed her life. She was the finest pork vendor in Akoto, her food praised not only in her village but in neighboring settlements as well. Every morning, long before the sun stretched its golden arms over the land, Lanya could be found in her small hut, preparing her famous pork. Her hands moved with precision as she worked on the slabs of fresh meat, massaging a blend of secret spices into each piece. The marinade, a concoction passed down by her mother, had a perfect balance of tanginess, sweetness, and heat. She worked in silence, her movements rhythmic, her face calm but focused. The sound of sizzling pork filled the hut as she carefully placed the seasoned meat on her charcoal grill. As the rich aroma wafted out of her hut and into the crisp morning air, it was said to awaken even the sleepiest villagers. Lanya's pork wasn't just food, it was an experience. Tender, juicy, and infused with a smoky flavor that lingered on the tongue, her pork was unlike anything anyone had ever tasted. By the time she balanced her woven basket on her head and walked toward the marketplace, the air was alive with anticipation. Her melodic chant echoed through the streets. Sweet pork. Tender pork. Best in Akoto. The marketplace, as always, was bustling. Children ran around laughing, traders haggled loudly, and the scent of spices and roasted corn filled the air. Yet, the moment Lanya arrived, all attention turned to her. Villagers gathered quickly, their coins jingling in their hands. "Lanya, give me 3 sticks," shouted an elderly woman, her face lined with years of wisdom. "4 for me," called a farmer, wiping sweat from his brow. "My children can't stop asking for your pork." Lanya smiled warmly, wrapping each stick of pork in fresh banana leaves and handing them over. She moved with practiced efficiency, her hands swift yet graceful. A small boy tugged at her skirt, looking up at her with wide, hopeful eyes. "1 stick, please," he whispered, holding up a single copper coin. Lanya crouched down, her smile soft and kind. "Here you go, little one," she said, handing him a smaller portion from the basket. "Tell your mother I said hello." Her store was the busiest in the market, and her pork sold out quickly each day. As she tucked the coins into the pouch tied around her waist, she felt a sense of pride. Her mother's words often rang in her ears. "Cook with love, Lanya. Food is not just nourishment, it carries the heart and spirit of the one who prepares it." One fateful morning, as Lanya walked on her pork, a royal procession passed through the village. King Oba, ruler of Akoto, was visiting the market as part of his annual tour of the kingdom. He was a tall, imposing man with a stern face, but his eyes softened the moment the aroma of Lanya's pork reached him. "What is that smell?" he asked, his voice commanding. His guards led him to Lanya's stall, where he tasted her pork for the first time. The moment the tender meat touched his tongue, his eyes widened in delight. "This is the finest pork I have ever tasted," he declared, his voice carrying over the crowd. From that day on, Lanya's life changed. Royal guards arrived at her stall daily to purchase pork for the palace. Soon, the entire royal household was eating exclusively from her stock. Her fame spread, and people from neighboring villages traveled long distances just to taste her food. But with fame came pressure. No matter how much pork Lanya prepared, it was never enough. The demand was overwhelming, and she found herself dreaming of ways to make her pork even better, even more irresistible. Her ambition consumed her thoughts, and one night, as she lay in bed, a dangerous idea took root in her mind. She had heard whispers of a woman who lived deep in the forest where 3 paths met, a woman known as Mama Kifa. Mama Kifa was said to possess great knowledge of herbs and potions, though many feared her, calling her a witch. Driven by desperation, Lanya decided to seek out Mama Kifa. Under the light of a full moon, she made her way into the forest. The path was dark and treacherous, the air thick with the hum of unseen creatures. When she finally reached Mama Kifa's hut, she hesitated, her heart pounding. The door creaked open before she could knock. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of herbs and smoke. Jars filled with strange powders and liquids lined the walls, their contents glowing faintly in the dim light. "You seek me, child?" Mama Kifa's voice was raspy but commanding. "Yes," Lanya replied, her voice trembling. "I want my pork to be the best in all of Akoto and beyond. I want it to be irresistible." Mama Kifa studied her for a long moment before reaching for a small jar of crimson powder. "Add only a pinch of this to your marinade," she said. "No more, or you will regret it." Lanya nodded, clutching the jar tightly. But when she returned home, greed overtook her. She ignored Mama Kifa's warning and added a heaping spoonful of the powder to her marinade. The results were immediate. The next day, her pork was more irresistible than ever. Villagers swarmed her store, pushing and shoving to get their share. Other vendors watched in frustration as their own stalls stood empty. But the success came at a cost. Within days, strange symptoms began to appear among those who had eaten her pork. Children giggled nervously as they poked at their swollen bellies. Teenagers complained of tight clothes and discomfort. Even the elders, who prided themselves on moderation, found themselves groaning in pain. Animals that had scavenged pork scraps near Lanya's stall were also affected. Goats, dogs, and chickens waddled awkwardly through the village, their bellies bulging comically. The sight of the afflicted animals only added to the growing panic. King Oba, hearing of the strange occurrences, summoned Lanya to the palace. Under his piercing gaze, she confessed her visit to Mama Kifa and her misuse of the magic powder. "My king, I was blinded by ambition," she admitted, her voice trembling. "Please, forgive me." The king's face darkened. "Your greed has brought chaos to this village," he said. "You must fix this, or you will face exile." Mama Kifa was summoned to the palace, where she arrived with a sly smile. "The curse cannot be undone by magic," she said. "Only the fruit of the bitter oaken tree, found deep in the forest of shadows, can reverse the effects. But beware, the journey is perilous." Determined to make amends, Lanya volunteered to lead a group to retrieve the fruit. Accompanied by a handful of villagers, she ventured into the dense forest. The forest of shadows was a place of whispers and danger. The path was narrow and overgrown, with vines that seemed to move of their own accord. At one point, a villager raised his machete to cut through the vines, only for them to wrap tightly around his arm, pulling him toward the darkness. "Come back," the vines whispered, their voices chilling. "Turn back before it's too late." Lanya stepped forward, humming the lullaby her mother used to sing. The vines froze, their grip loosening, and the group pressed on. Deeper into the forest, they encountered a wide, glowing river. As they approached, the water began to speak, amplifying their fears. "You are not strong enough," the river taunted. "You will fail." Lanya's heart pounded, but she shouted back, "I failed once, but I will not fail again." Her courage silenced the voices, and the river's glow dimmed, allowing them to cross. Finally, they reached the oaken tree, its gnarled branches heavy with fruit. A shimmering guardian spirit emerged, its form radiant with golden light. "Only those with pure intentions may take the fruit," the spirit said. "What will you offer?" Lanya stepped forward, her hands trembling. She offered her last stick of pork, the only reminder of her past success. "This is all I have left," she said softly. The spirit studied her, then stepped aside. The group carefully harvested the bitter fruit and returned to Akoto. Back in the village, the fruit was ground into a paste and fed to the afflicted. Slowly, their swollen bellies shrank, and peace returned. But King Oba was not lenient. "Though you have fixed your mistake," he said, "your greed endangered us all. You are hereby banished from Akoto." Tears streamed down Lanya's face as she left the village, carrying only the lessons she had learned. Her childhood friend, Zina, embraced her tightly at the gates. "Redemption is a journey, Lanya," she said. "Walk it well." And so, Lanya began a new life, vowing to never again let greed cloud her heart. True success, she realized, could only be achieved through patience, humility, and love. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you even more amazing videos.